The neon sign of the Crossroads Motel flickered weakly in the desert night, its promise of vacancy a beacon to weary travelers. Maya pulled her beat-up Honda into the nearly empty parking lot, relief washing over her as she cut the engine. She'd been driving for hours, trying to outrun memories as much as miles. The motel itself was unremarkable, a two-story structure that had seen better days, paint peeling in the harsh sun. But something about it made Maya pause as she stepped out of her car. A stillness that seemed unnatural, a silence too complete for a place just off the highway. At the front desk, an elderly man with rheumy eyes handed her a key without a word, his gaze never quite meeting hers. Room 13. Of course. As Maya made her way across the courtyard, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The windows of the other rooms were dark, but she could have sworn she saw curtains twitch, heard whispers just on the edge of hearing. Room 13 was at the far end of the motel, isolated from the other units. The key stuck in the lock, requiring a forceful twist to open. As the door swung inward, Maya was hit by a wave of stale air and the faint scent of something she couldn't quite place. Flowers? Incense? Decay? The room was standard motel fare. A bed, a dresser, a small table with a single chair. But as Maya's eyes adjusted to the dim light, she noticed oddities. The wallpaper pattern seemed to shift when she wasn't looking directly at it. The mirror above the dresser reflected a room that was similar, but not quite identical to the one she stood in. Too tired to dwell on these anomalies, Maya collapsed onto the bed. Sleep came quickly, but it was far from restful. She dreamed of voices, a cacophony of whispers in languages she didn't understand. She saw faces, a pale woman in a white kimono, her long black hair hiding her features, a gaunt man in Victorian dress, his eyes sunken and desperate, a child in ancient Egyptian garb, silent tears streaming down his face. Maya woke with a start, her heart pounding. The digital clock on the nightstand read 3:33 a.m. The witching hour, a voice in her head supplied unhelpfully. That's when she noticed the chair had moved. It was now facing the bed, as if someone had been sitting there watching her sleep. "Hello?" Maya called out, her voice trembling. "Is anyone there?" No response came, but the silence felt expectant. Suddenly, the TV flickered to life, static filling the screen. Through the white noise, Maya could make out shapes, faces, forming and dissolving, and underneath it all, those whispers again, growing louder. Maya scrambled out of bed, fumbling for the light switch. Nothing happened. The bulb must be burnt out, she told herself, trying to quell the rising panic. She made for the door, but as her hand closed around the knob, she felt a chill that went beyond mere cold. The metal was icy, frost forming under her fingers. Behind her, the whispers grew to a crescendo. Maya turned slowly, her breath catching in her throat. The room had changed. The walls were now lined with doors, each one different. A rice paper sliding door, an ornate Victorian entrance, a simple wooden plank with strange symbols carved into it. And in the center of the room stood a figure. It was constantly shifting. One moment a pale Japanese woman in a kimono, the next a decaying corpse in Victorian dress, then a child with the head of a jackal like an Egyptian god. "Welcome, traveller," it said, its voice a blend of countless others. "You stand at the crossroads of the world's ghost stories. Every door leads to a different tale, a different terror. Which will you choose?" Maya felt rooted to the spot, her mind reeling. This couldn't be real. It had to be a dream, a hallucination brought on by exhaustion and stress. "Who? What are you?" she managed to gasp. The figure smiled, a terrifying sight that seemed to stretch across multiple faces at once. "We are the keeper of tales, the guardian of fears, and you, Maya, have been chosen to join us." Maya felt a tugging sensation, as if something was trying to pull her very essence from her body. She looked down and saw her hands becoming translucent, her feet beginning to sink into the floor. "No!" she cried out. "I don't want this! This isn't real!" The figure laughed. a sound that echoed with the mirth of 1,000 spirits. Reality is subjective, dear Maya, especially here, at the crossroads of all ghost stories. Maya felt herself being drawn towards one of the doors. She saw her reflection in its glossy surface changing, taking on aspects of the ghosts and spirits from 100 different cultures. Part of her mind screamed in terror, but another part felt a strange sense of belonging. As she was about to be pulled through the door, Maya had one last, desperate idea. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small object, a smooth river stone her grandmother had given her for protection. As her fingers closed around it, there was a blinding flash of light. Maya found herself back in the motel room, gasping for breath on the worn carpet. The extra doors were gone, the shifting figure nowhere to be seen. Sunlight streamed through the window, suggesting it was well into the morning. Had it all been a nightmare? A vivid hallucination brought on by exhaustion and the stress of her journey. As Maya struggled to her feet, she caught sight of her reflection in the mirror above the dresser. For just a moment, she thought she saw something else looking back at her. Not her own face, but a composite of countless others, their eyes filled with an eldritch knowledge that no mortal was meant to possess. Then it was gone, leaving Maya to question everything she thought she knew about the world and her place in it. She checked out of the Crossroads Motel in a daze, the elderly man at the front desk still avoiding her gaze. As she drove away, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had changed. The world seemed different somehow, as if a veil had been lifted. In the days and weeks that followed, as Maya continued her journey, she found herself drawn to places with dark histories, to people with strange tales to tell. She began to hear whispers again, but this time, they didn't terrify her. Instead, she felt a strange compulsion to listen, to understand, to become part of the stories. She never told anyone about her experience at the Crossroads Motel. Who would believe her? But sometimes, late at night in lonely hotel rooms or remote campsites, Maya would close her eyes and listen. And in the whispers of 1,000 ghost stories, in the echoes of fears that had haunted humanity since the dawn of time, Maya found a strange kind of peace. She realized that she had become a collector of tales, a keeper of the thin veil between the world of the living and the realms of the dead. For in the end, every culture has its ghosts, every nation has its nightmares, and somewhere out there, at a crossroads between reality and nightmare, stands a motel where those stories converge, a place where the boundaries between different ghostly traditions blur and merge, creating new terrors and new understandings. Maya never found the Crossroads Motel again, though sometimes she thought she caught glimpses of it in her rearview mirror, always disappearing when she turned to look. But its impact on her life was undeniable. She had become a bridge between worlds, a translator of terrors, forever changed by her night at the intersection of all ghost stories. And if sometimes people Maya encounters on her travels report strange dreams of doors leading to other worlds, or catch glimpses of faces that aren't quite human reflected in mirrors, well, that's just part of the experience of crossing paths with a keeper of ghostly tales, isn't it? For the line between reality and story, between the living and the dead, has blurred. And in that blurring, Maya has found a new purpose. One foot in the world of the living, the other in the realm of spirits and stories that refuse to die. The Crossroads Motel remains, a liminal space where the ghosts of the world gather. And somewhere out there, Maya continues her travels, ever watching, ever listening, ever ready to add new tales of terror to the ever-growing tapestry of human fear and fascination with the unknown.